Hey, welcome to another typology interview. We have David. How's it going?
Hey, Benjamin. It's good to see you again, man.
Yeah. So I'll put a link to our last interview, and today we're going to talk about your
Okay.
shadow functions, right?
Sounds good. Yep.
Yeah. So ISTP, just to remind everyone, your MF audio and your consume, play, sleep, blast.
You got it. Yep. That's
There you go.
exactly it.
Right. So yeah, let's dive in, I guess. We were just talking a little bit. You've been thinking about your shadow functions for a while, and let's see how they kind of express themselves in you, right?
Yeah, sure.
So
I'll
yeah,
tell you everything I can.
so your strongest one should be the shadow of your TI. Your TI is your main function. So the shadow of
Okay.
your TI is your TE. So do you see that in your life at all?
Sure. Would I say it's the strongest one? I don't know. It competes with that side. I feel like they're both pretty easy to use.
Really?
Um, with TE, I feel like it's one of those things I can do, but it's not one of those things that I enjoy doing. Right? It's. I would much prefer to use my own logic, to use my own analysis to create something that's a perfect fit for me, right? Whereas I
Mm-hmm.
feel like the TE, the spectrum of ideas, tend to be a one size fits all or like a really quick, sort of efficient way to deal with something. So like if I could give, so I use TE actually in my daily life, but only with stuff that I really don't give a fuck about. Wait, I can cuss on here or no?
Why not? Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if you get demonetized or how that works, but
Well, I'm not making any money anyways, so we're all good.
yeah, I don't know. Okay, so like if I'm buying a car, for instance, like I don't give a fuck about cars. A car gets me from point A to point B. Don't give a
Right.
shit about it. I'm not going to use TI there. I'm not going to waste my time. I'll go to as many people as I can and be like, "What do you think? What should I get? What should be important? What should I look for in a car? You know, what do you recommend?" And I'll do that with a bunch of people and of course stuff on the internet. And then I'll just go with whatever is makes the most sense or seems the most reasonable. And that's really easy when it comes to stuff that are not important to me, that aren't, I guess, tied to my identity in some way. And
Mm-hmm.
the skill itself is not too far from TI. It's still thinking, it's still analysis. You're just kind of getting it from other people and kind of doing it in a way where you're not taking it too seriously. You're kind of throwing ideas out there and just seeing what sticks. So for stuff
Right.
that's not important to me, it's yeah, I feel like it's pretty easy.
So okay, so like here, this is something. Well, because I'm also lead TI and I also get how to use T. So I'm going to ask you these kind of questions.
Okay.
Let's say there was like this perfect metaphor for life or whatever. That's just not
Okay.
true. It's obviously not true. So let's
Okay.
just say like anytime you do something good, you create a fairy and the fairy goes off
And
and
IFP type. Okay.
right and spreads good cheer to everyone. And then every time you do something bad, your fairy gets starved and dies, and one of your fairies, and then right. So you got this whole analogy thing that like that that's not true, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Would it be easy for you to like stick to this idea and like use it and like imagine it, or would it you like feel like this is just, even though it works, like it perfectly works and it'll help you like get through whatever you need to get through,
Okay. So
right?
something
But
that
it's not
doesn't make
true,
sense, but it's something that works, right?
right? Exactly. There
Oh
you
yeah,
go.
that's a tough one, man. Because it's like, well, if I knew for sure, that's the problem. I would doubt that it works because I can't make sense of it, right? But if I knew for sure that it works, then I would like really focus on figuring out, okay, they're calling it a fairy. Obviously, it's not a fairy. There's something else going on here. What is this placeholder called fairy, and what's actually behind it
Right.
that they're using to label it as a fairy? Because obviously, it's not a fucking fairy, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like so there's something else going on there. So like if I knew for sure that the problem is if it's a fairy, I'm not going to ever trust that idea. I think you know what I mean. Like, it's going to be
Yeah,
tough.
but like let's say it works. Like you see like there's a whole cult of these people that believe in this stuff, and they're all amazing people and they're doing great things in the world and they're succeeding and it works for them. But like
Right.
it's just not true.
Yeah. If it works, man. I would, but I would be like, I would have to figure out how though, because I'd be like, what the fuck? Why? Like, I would, even though it wouldn't matter to figure it out. If it works, it works. But I think with TI, you gotta understand what you're
Right.
talking about. You believe
So
in
like
it, right?
that's kind of the feeling I get from using TE as a shadow function. It just feels dirty. It feels wrong. It feels like
Yeah. I mean,
you're dragging it through the mud and using it in a way you're not supposed to be using it. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I could see that a bit.
Yeah.
Me, I feel like I'm just being lazy. Like, you know what I
Being
mean? I'm
lazy. Okay.
you
Or
know, like,
sloppy. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Which
not
sometimes
spending.
we do. Sometimes that's the most efficient way. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
you need to be precise all the time. I think.
Um, what about seeing like the spectrum of thoughts? Like, let's say everyone, in order to get everyone on board on something, right? Everyone has this one conclusion that you obviously automatically see as it's the wrong conclusion, but it's just like the
Okay.
majority of people think this way. And it
Okay.
doesn't really matter if you let them think this way. You just want to get moving. Like, okay,
Okay.
it'll be less efficient. It'll be less efficient. It'll be wrong, but you'll waste time. So let's say you're, I
Okay.
don't know, maybe you're camping and they want to go to this one camping spot or whatever, and everyone wants to go to this one spot, but you know there's like a much better spot. You've used your logic. You're like, nobody's gone there. I've detected it. I figured it out, right?
Okay.
Um, how hard would it be for you to just like ignore your logic and ignore the truth and just go to that one spot that everyone wants to go to?
I would state my case. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I would state it. I'd be like, I would do it in a nice FE way too. I'd be like,
yeah,
listen, this spot sounds great too, but there's this one that not many people know about and totally gets overlooked. But check it out. And then I would explain why. I would give the
what?
reasons why this is a great spot. And if they're like, we're going to go to this spot anyway, and be like, all right, well, I'm outnumbered here.
Right.
We'll go to your spot, I guess.
And would it just
I'd
bother
be
you the
mad for
whole
like a minute.
time?
I think I'd be frustrated for a minute
Yeah.
because, like, if I knew that that spot was worse, but I'd be like, whatever, you know, it's what they want to do. It's not worth causing conflict over, right?
Right. But would it just bother you like the whole camping trip that you're in a subpar spot?
Man, I would like to think I'm above that at this point. Yeah, maybe I'd be like, God, man, the other one had a fucking waterfall. There was a cliff.
Yeah.
And I could be looking at that right now if it wasn't for these tribe idiots. Like,
Right. Yeah.
it would pop up, but like, there's also the FE side where you're like, you know, this is what they want to do. Everyone's happy. Everything's good.
Okay.
It's not.
Right. So you'll be using that FE to sort of simulate the TE
It's
aspect,
yeah. It's got
allow
to
the
balance out.
agreement. Yeah.
Yeah. In a way, yeah,
Mhm.
sure.
Okay. But you wouldn't like jump on board with it right away with everyone. You'd still have to state your case.
Yeah, if I knew for sure the other place was good, if I was kind of iffy about it, I would be
Right.
like, well, I don't fucking, I have no idea. So I like
Yeah.
feminine in eye, so like usually my conclusions that I
Yeah.
draw.
Well,
Usually like,
I'm trying to state it as like a metaphor sort of thing. Like it could be
gotcha.
anything. Yeah. It's just one thing that you know is true. And then the whole tribe says something else. And
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, yeah.
it's usually more efficient to just allow the tribe to make their decisions, even though
Yeah,
they're
it's less
wrong.
energy, right? Yeah,
That's yeah.
but
And then
part
you
of
can
you,
get on to
no,
making more decisions.
tell me if you do this also. You kind of go along with it, sort of begrudgingly, but you
Yeah.
hope that it sucks almost so you can like tell them, see, like I
I
told
told you so.
you.
uh,
Just kind of fucked up, but like still, it's
yeah, I
part of
don't
you
know if I
really
do
wants
it
to be right,
quite
right?
like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it would irk me. Like the whole time that we're there, I'd just be like biting my lip, being like, we should have been at that other place.
Yeah,
Or like we should have, yeah, we should have
I
stuck
can
to the
see that
truth.
for sure.
Okay. All right, let's talk about your SE. The shadow of your SE is your SI. And I said before we started the interview, I see like you're an SE because like I see your room, everything's exactly where it should be. It's just not organized. Your bed's not
Yeah,
made.
it's
I see your
not
closet behind. It's not stacked in an SI way, but like everything's in the right spot, I guess.
yeah, it's not too chaotic, right? There's a balance, you know.
Right. Yeah. But like it's still not organizing the sensory to the way an SI would feel responsible to do. So can you SI?
Yeah, it can be done. I think I just a lot of times I don't see the point in it. Like for my shelf, for instance, like if I arrange everything by color, like what is that going to do for me? Or if I put things stacked perfectly, is that going to make any difference at all? Like no, I'm expending energy on something that absolutely affects my life. Like not at all.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have to SI to some degree. Like I do have like a schedule just to kind of keep me grounded, and like just
Right.
the really important stuff that I don't want to miss. I have it scheduled in a way it's where I'm not. Like I have things scheduled, and then once I'm done with that, I'm free to just do whatever the fuck I want, which is where I want to be, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
But for me, no, SI has never been, except for when I was a kid, which I think all kids probably struggle with SI, I would imagine. But
Yeah.
for me, I'm never late to anything. I don't forget appointments or things that I'm supposed to do. maybe that a lot of that's masculine SE, but I really don't have issues with SI, and I do just enough to kind of get by, just enough to where
Yeah.
it's not squeezing the life out of things to where everything has to be controlled, where I'm spending half of my day cleaning shit and perfectly, I just feel like SI when it's like lead, it kind of, it's just your whole life. It's just organizing shit. You know what I mean? I just feel like you're not living
Well,
your
that's
life.
it's one aspect of it, organizing the sensory.
Sure.
But so for you can do it. It just takes a lot of effort, sort of thing.
Um, I wouldn't even say it takes a lot of effort. I think my opinion on it is more, I think TI kind of dictates that it doesn't have much usefulness in a lot
Mm,
of extent. And so I just can't do it. If something's not
right.
useful, I just won't do it. It doesn't matter what it is. I just physically cannot do it. So I can SI if it's like, if it makes a big difference easily.
Right.
If it doesn't make a big difference, I'm doing it just for show or just so things look nice. That's going to be difficult for me.
Yeah. Is it stressful as well to do that organizing?
Um, yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
like mowing the lawn I hate mowing the lawn so much, and I hate it when there's like, it's not like a square lawn, like it has like it's all weird and there's like rocks in the middle and all these little tight spaces you have to get under, and you just want to get the thing over with. You're having to constantly stop and, okay, I have to change this or I have to move this out of the way and blah blah blah. It just like,
Right.
who cares if my grass is short? What is it? What does this have any purpose of? Like, so people can see my grass and be like, hey, look how short his grass is. It's,
Right.
you really must have his shit together. Like, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
so there's a lot of disrespect for SI, but I can do it if it's needed, I guess.
Yeah. Um, what about perceiving the world in a way that's through yours? Like, obviously, we're always subjectively perceiving the world. Like, we're completely subjective.
Sure.
But like the senses feel, for us at least, or it should feel, that it's the objective reality. Like we're perceiving objective reality.
Right.
Do you ever get into a moment where you're being completely subjective in your body, in your flesh, in your skin? Is that something that's natural for you to do?
I don't think I actually quite know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to be subjective inside your body?
Like, okay, so like all of your
like everything being subjective. Like, is that what you
right.
mean?
So like all of our senses are detecting things outside of us.
Sure.
So we see an outside world, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas really what's actually going on is actually SI. All of our senses are inside our body and we're detecting things inside.
Sure.
And we're like, and so I would say like SI is supposed to also be very bodily, sort of feel their body, know what's going on. Like sometimes I know for me that I don't even feel like I'm hungry. Sometimes I'm not tracking those kind of things, or like it's annoying that I have to go to the washroom or things like this. Like it's something that's strange that I have a body even. Do you get that?
Okay. No, actually, I have the complete opposite experience. I'm super deeply connected to my own body. If I have so much as a stomach ache, it ruins my whole day. Like if I'm a little bit hungry or something's a little bit off or my shoulder's a little bit tight, anything that happens within my body is super obvious to me. But I think I was an athlete for a long time, so I don't know if that just strengthened the connection there or something like that. But as far as everything being sort of a subjective thing, yeah, I've definitely felt that with in different ways where I just feel like, what we see on outside of us is only a reflection of what's inside, and nothing really on the outside can be seen as what it is. Everything is being sensed, everything's being interpreted by our sensing parts of our brain, right?
Yeah. But
Sound
do you feel, does it feel like
like
that's true, or you cognitively understand that it's true?
I think it's more of a cognitive understand. It's not my natural thing to feel like, oh, this is all bullshit. This is all an illusion. This is all, but I know it's an illusion from an intellectual standpoint, but I wouldn't say that I feel that way on like a physical level, I guess.
Okay. Did you have problems organizing your notebooks and stuff in classes? And
I didn't have a notebook. I didn't take any notes.
Yeah, me neither.
I tried to get the concept, and
yeah.
I think that's what ISTPs do. We try to like go through what they're saying and then try to figure out what kind of the main point is and then remember that because it's so much easier.
Which is really bad in history class.
Yeah, actually I did okay in history. Like for some reason. I don't know. I think maybe it's
Remembering
just
all the dates and names and
oh yeah, the dates and names. Well, the names are okay. Yeah, dates was tough. I had to actually study that,
yeah.
but yeah, we're gonna. I mean, yeah, I can do it, but
Uh-huh.
I usually slept in class to be honest, and when I wasn't sleeping, I was paying attention, but not. If I wrote notes, then I wasn't paying attention. So it was kind of I had to do either or. I feel like for me.
What about like organizing the sensory in like an artistic way?
Actually, so I used to kind of do that actually in class when like I had to stay awake. I would like make the perfect notes, and I would make it in a way that looked really cool and organized and blah blah blah, just to have something to focus on so I wouldn't fall asleep.
Oh,
But as far as in general, organizing stuff, yeah, I definitely see myself do that. Like when I'm doing music, I use this software called Ableton, and so Ableton color codes like your instruments that you're using, the MIDI clips, audio clips, all that stuff.
right,
And so I usually have like a color scheme, and if the color's off, it like fucks with me somehow. Like
right,
the colors don't go together, then I have to stop and I have to like change it to where it like
right.
suits me somehow. And so yeah, I think that's not completely foreign to me for sure.
Uh-huh. Um, let's say you did actually spend the time to organize the sensory, and people came and messed it up on you. Would that be like disastrous, or what would that be for you? Or just
Hmm.
would you just give up and be like, I'm not organizing this anymore and done? It's the
Uh,
last time.
I think FE would get mad. I was like, listen,
Yeah.
you like
Right.
you're not
Yeah.
FEing here. What about my feelings?
Yeah.
But no, I wouldn't because I would expect it to get that way eventually anyway.
Right.
Like it's never that's one reason I think like to do SI because it's not permanent. It's eventually gonna get fucked up and I have to do it all over again.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
Right. Okay. Cool, man. So okay. So your next function is NI. So the shadow is any.
mhm.
Do you see that? Do you understand what any is? Is it hard for you to grasp, or what's going on there?
So NE for me is the trickiest one. So I feel like SI and TE are just sort of buttons that I can push. Like I can
Mm.
do those when I need to. Might not necessarily like it or might not be my favorite thing to do. With NE, however, is not something I can control. I feel like that comes up very dependent on my mood. So for instance, there's three sort of moods that really trigger NE. The first one is being drunk. That somehow NE is working perfectly during that time. When I haven't slept, if I've slept like 4 hours or something, and it's like the first night I haven't slept,
I think that was just like
I
super
can,
offensive. Like, sorry, I'm just like, all of you NE people are
no,
just
I mean,
drunks. You're just drunks running around spouting out crazy ideas.
sure. Well,
I'm sure that's what it feels like. I don't know.
it wasn't meant to be. And the third is when I'm super happy, like when I'm really in a great mood.
Uh-huh.
NE is working super well.
Really?
I notice it mostly in
What
my
was the
music.
second?
The second one was not sleeping. So like
I'm
if I
not
sleep,
sleeping. Okay.
so my mind's a bit more relaxed. It's a bit looser, and I have to have that kind of relaxed mind in order to NE. So I've noticed in music. So in music, at least the way I produce, I really have to have NE because it's mostly a reactionary process where I put like a sound element down, just a kick drum or melody or whatever, and then that reminds me of something. It makes me think of this. It makes me think of that. It makes me think of a rainstorm or something. And then, oh, I'll put raindrops in there. Oh, and then I'll change this. And so it's a constant sort of spreading out of ideas there. And
Right.
so it's really hard for me to make music sometimes because if NE is not firing, like it's really hard for me to come up with what to do. And I've noticed that it works for about an hour and then there's no more
Uh,
branching out. I
right.
can only focus on like one thing. And I can focus on whether it sounds right or sounds wrong or whatever, but it doesn't trigger any sort of ideas or, well, this sounds like this is like this could be
Right.
like this. There's no more branching out after
Right.
about an hour. So it exhausts pretty easily, I would say. And it's for me, a very unconscious process, I feel like.
Yeah, because like I feel like any users are constantly coming up with those ideas, and like it's a fight for them to say no, no, no. Like they're always having to limit, always like they have too many ideas, and they'll never
Definitely.
get anything done because they don't know which idea to pick or something like that. And 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 so for you, it sounds more like the opposite. Like you need any little idea is like something you latch onto, and it's like, okay, let me use this sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's great. And I love like the thing is like when it is working, it's like very good though. Like
Yeah.
it's not like a weak function when it decides to come out. When I'm not really in a good headspace to use that cognitive function, I feel like
Hmm.
it shoots out a lot of connections that are so far out that they don't really make sense. And so it's not a very effective use of
Yeah.
any kind of really just super fucking random.
Yeah.
And so
I get
it's
that too. Like I get that in brainstorming sessions where like people are coming up with ideas and like automatically I'm like, no, 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 no. Like automatically my gut reaction to all these ideas is no until like they find the right one. Like it feels like
yeah,
there's one right idea, one right thing to do here. And you
sure.
got to find it and dive down that one right thing. Cause like all of these others just are just clouding the
Yeah,
subject.
they're just getting in the way. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, it's not like I can't come up with many ideas. It's just like, it's naturally suppressed, I think, because I don't know, maybe you feel the same thing. You naturally suppress it because like they're all going to be wrong unless you find the right one.
Yeah, I wonder if TI suppresses it. You know what I mean? Because it's really easy
Maybe.
for a guy to shoot down any ideas sometimes because they're a bit far out there, and you're not. There needs to be like a strong logical connection for you to really follow it. I guess sometimes.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's why any works when I'm a bit tired or when I'm a bit out of it because TI shuts the hell up, and then I can like freely think about stuff without having to logic.
Okay.
So maybe there's something to that. I'm not really sure.
Mm.
But
Um, then also like I find that sometimes you come out with an idea and then when it gets shot down, like you kind of take it personally because it's an I, and it's hard to be like not detached, like to be detached from that NE. Do you get that too? Like it feels personal even though it's an NE idea, it's still kind of personal.
yeah, totally. And I think yeah, and I think that's just maybe just the nature of TI. You know, your ideas are usually you're not just throwing shit out there. Usually you're like really throwing out stuff that you've thought about, and you're not like, at least from my perspective, you're not like TE that can just sort of throw things out there and not take it personal if something's shot down. But TI is
Right.
very more like a sniper rifle where it's just one sort of bullet, it's just one sort of blah blah blah, and then you have to reload. Right? It's not like this
Right.
thing's spraying shit out. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, sometimes I do take it personally, and that's hard for me in those brainstorming sessions because I feel like I kind of need to be alone and I need to sleep process stuff. And I kind of don't want to throw stuff out there that sucks, And so it's like if you're worried about throwing stuff out there that sucks, you won't throw anything out there, and it's really tough to have any work. I think in a lot of ways.
Yeah. What about seeing possibilities, even for the future and things like that, or branching possibilities? We could do this, or this, or this, or this, or that kind of thing.
Yeah. So the thing is, I'm not sure how much it branches out for any users. I think I'd have to see that to really be able
Right.
to compare. I think.
For you.
Yeah, I think I don't come up with a lot of scenarios. I think I come up with like three or four of the least or the most likely, and then that's kind of it. I guess I could go further, but I feel like all the other possibilities that I would think of would be things that couldn't happen or um, logistical or don't work for whoever, or that sort of thing. So I feel like it's if I had to guess, because I've never been in any person's like headspace, right? I would say it's like a very narrowed version of more of an I guess, sort of version of any, where it's just a couple possibilities. It's not like 1,000, or
Hmm.
whatever. You know what I mean?
What about coming up with ideas that are disconnected to like that aren't connected to many things? Like, okay, I'll explain a bit better. So, like NI for me at least, it's like a concept that can be applied not only to one thing but to many things, and those are kind of like our gold mines. Like that's just kind of the concepts that we want to refine, get these ideas that can be applied to so many different places,
Okay.
and just but like I feel like any is something that where it's like it's just a concept that can be applied to the moment and then thrown out, or like and you'll just come up with it again when you need it. Like it's not something that's like do you ever get that where you come up with a concept just for the moment that you can just throw out when you're done and you don't care?
Hmm. No, because I feel like the concepts you come up with can usually be applied in many situations. Do you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
can, because I kind of think that's what you're kind of doing with SCNI, right? Like you're taking a bunch of different situations and then you're kind of finding the like one or very few underlying patterns that could sort of underlie that
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. So like, it's a tough question. I don't know if I completely understand it, but yeah, I don't. I don't see myself throwing away concepts. I feel like those are really precious in a way. Like if you find a concept between something and it's like proven that it makes sense and that it works, see what else it's used for. Like, like see if it's part of something bigger. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So it would kind of feel weird for you to throw it away and not continue on that
Yeah, why
concept.
not? Like
Yeah.
if it worked, shit, it might work somewhere else too, right? I mean, why
Yeah.
not? Why not reuse it? I think.
Uh-huh. Interesting. Okay. So your FE, your weakest function, supposedly.
It
Um,
is.
yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Um, Shadow FI.
Yeah, so shadow
Um,
FI. So if I were to rank the shadow functions and the easiest to the least easiest, I think it probably goes um might actually go SITE, FI, and then INI. So I feel like INI is still harder, but FI is like INI. For me, it's a bit unconscious, but it's easier for me to access than INI. So it's kind of like TE, where in a way where I'm using TE for stuff that I don't really give a shit about. I'm using kind of FI for the same thing. Like for instance, if I'm at like a bar that has like 100 different beers, I'm not going to TI that and say, okay, what's the alcohol content, what type of beer, blah blah blah. I'll just be like, oh, that label looks pretty. Let's get that one. Like I'm not going to spend
uh-huh.
much time. I'm going to go to how I feel and not to what I
Right.
think I analyze. Right.
What if you have like a favorite beer?
I think with SC and wanting to try new shit all the time,
Yeah,
I probably
exactly. Yeah.
see if I can find a new favorite. Yeah,
Right.
for
Yeah.
sure. So another thing I should say, so FI is also coming out in music a lot. Because if you try to reason music, man, it's going to sound like shit. It's going to be
Yeah,
so
I get
boring.
that. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that
yeah,
too.
it's obvious, right? So you have to find what you like and also what sort of emotional space the song's going to
Yeah.
represent.
See, the problem is with what you like, it's a sensory thing, music as well. So
Okay.
it's not just what stirs emotions in you. It's also what is sensory appealing in the sensory
Okay.
realm. So like,
Okay.
yeah, you can like something sensory or you can like something emotion. I don't know. You can like some in terms of values, like you like what it represents or things like that. I don't know.
Sure. Well, I also feel like, I feel like they're kind of connected because
Yeah.
you might like it sensorily. There's still an emotion that follows that. I feel like, you know what I
Okay.
mean? There's still like a
And
sort of dopamine hit that you get from it.
the other thing is that could also be just FE because it's still a feeling. And it's hard to differentiate where that feelings come from. Like this is something even FE
Okay.
users say, like it doesn't feel like the feeling is outside. It's still a feeling from inside when they're using their feelings.
Okay. Well, I think I would probably disagree on it being FE because usually these sounds are really the ones that I like are super personal to me, and I know they won't fit in the song, and I know they won't go with the sort of established way of making
Right.
this that everyone else will like, but I like them, so who gives a shit?
Uh-huh.
But what you're saying about it being SC favorable, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I have to revisit that a bit. But I feel like there is a lot of FI still involved, and
Yeah,
I
that makes sense. Yeah, what you just said was actually quite good there. Where you said
sure.
like I like this sound personally. It means something to me. I've used it. Yeah.
And it's resulted in a lot of very patchworky music where there's elements from a lot of different genres, and kind of the whole
Mhm.
package doesn't really make a lot of sense because of using that FI in these places and not using in a maybe in a broad sense and trying to use it as a song as a whole instead of FIing certain individual elements, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I guess also you could see it by not coming up with reasons for it, because like
sure.
is like Ti would have to find a reason in order to ground it in like I'm using this because. But if you're using
Mhm.
it like for no reason, just because you like it or because it's important to you,
Yeah, sure. Or you
yeah.
have like a set of sounds that represent your personality. Sometimes that like it falls
Oh,
into that.
okay, right.
But I tried to TI music when I first started, and it did not go well.
No,
Like
yeah, no,
you always okay, what is supposed to go here? Well, nothing is supposed to go anywhere. You have to
yeah,
just feel it out. And it took me years to get to that point where I could just
yeah.
sort of go with my feelings. I didn't know what they were. I was like, I don't know what should go here, what I feel good about. And you have to develop that feeling.
I get that
Kind
too. Also, like, but it's also a lot of trial and error. It's like putting it into the
it
SE so
is
that you
totally
can reconsume it back from the SE. You
okay.
know, because like you don't know what's going to work until you try it and then you consume it
Absolutely right.
again.
Sure.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
you can have ideas, but like, and you can simulate it, but like once it's there, then you're like, okay, well maybe I'll just tweak it a little more. Now let's hear it again. Tweak it more,
sure.
hear it again. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, you have to try it first, which can be such a pain because there's maybe so many steps you have to follow to get it to try it, and then just to find out that it sucks, and then to have that like 100 times in a row, it's like it's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever get attached to anything? Attached to, um, I don't know, clothing, housing, objects? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I totally have like my favorite blankie type thing going on
Yeah.
where I just latch on to something. Yeah, like when I like with clothes especially, like I'll just have one shirt that I like and I'll want to wear that like every day, but I'm like, okay, like people are gonna like notice that I'm just wearing the same shirt all the time. But I just really like the shirt for some reason. I don't know why.
Right.
Maybe there's some TI reasons involved. I don't know why I like it, but I do.
That's exactly right. If you say you don't know why, but you like it, that's not
Yeah,
TI. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
So that's
then
why I
you're
don't
like,
think
people will
FI
notice
is
it, FE sort of thing.
that's why I don't think FI is the last function of the ISTP. I don't.
Right.
It's supposed to be the last shadow function, right? The worst
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's true. At least not for me. Like
Right.
I definitely. I think when it comes to having a value system, sometimes that's going to be hard for an ISTP. I think for me, I think my values were rooted in the Bible at one point, and then,
Hmm.
but now it's a very shallow sort of. I do what feels right, and I don't do what feels wrong. And luckily, a lot of stuff feels wrong, and so it usually keeps me like on pretty
Right.
good ground morally.
Well, so here's the thing. The stuff that feels right and the stuff that feels wrong, is that socially accepted feeling right? Like based on where you are, where you're living, what people are thinking, the culture around you, what's socially acceptable? Like, I mean, obviously you would never go and use like a racial slur or whatever because it's
Right.
not socially acceptable, or I don't know, maybe you would. Um, but, but like, I feel like someone with FI could be like, I don't actually think it's wrong. Even though all of society thinks it's wrong, you'd be like, I don't think it's wrong, so I'll just use it. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Does
For
that
me
ever
though,
happen?
um, yeah, to some degree, but there's a stronger pull to when I know it. Like if I do something personally affect somebody in a negative way, I just won't do it, regardless if it's acceptable by society. Which I
Right.
guess if it is acceptable by society, and then it probably won't hurt somebody. But
Right.
I'm kind of getting to the meat of it more. Like, is this gonna hurt? Is this gonna make this person's life worse? And if it is, I don't do it. You know, it's if
Yeah.
it. I might do something that's societally not acceptable. Like I might smoke weed or something, but like that doesn't hurt anybody. So who cares? Like I can do what I want with my own body. Right. So like,
Right.
you know, so yeah,
Um,
it's more about, how it's more about FE, I think.
what about the inverse? So what about the inverse? Something that is socially acceptable, but you view as wrong, and you just won't do it, and you'll sort of speak up
Ooh.
when people do it.
Um, I don't know if I would speak up. I don't really speak up about a lot what people
Yeah.
do. I just let people do their thing. But I'd have to think of an example for that. Like, what is society acceptable in society, but it's not cool? I think throwing your cigarettes on the ground, like even though they're supposed to biodegrade after 1,000 years or whatever, I just don't feel like it's just, dude, just go to the trash can, and put the butt in there. Don't just throw it on the ground. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of,
Yeah.
I don't have a good reason for that, but I don't.
You don't need one if it's FI.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I
Interesting.
guess it's not really based on societal values. It's based on what makes sense, I think, to me, or maybe even my own. Maybe I do have my own internal set of values. They're just really deep in my subconscious, where I'm not really completely aware of them. Maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't
So
know.
if you were to rank your functions, do you have any shadow functions that might be stronger than one of your top four?
Mm,
Like maybe your SI is better than your FE, or your TE is better than your FE,
um.
or stronger, easier to use.
Yeah, I would probably say my SI is better than my FE, but I like using my FE a lot more than I do using my
Right.
SI. I feel like there's a definite need for FE, whereas SI, I just kind of just do it when I need to do it. But I feel like SI is super easy to do. There's nothing complicated about it. Yeah, it's kind of annoying, but like it's if there's a need for it, it's done. It's easy. I feel like for me
Uh-huh.
personally.
There's
So
just
yeah.
never a need for it. Cool, man. All right. So I talked to you before. You don't really have anything to promote yet, but once you do, send me a line, and we'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, I would love that. Great.
I'll get your first interview there too in the description, and
Okay.
yeah, and check out Lovely is doing something on ISTPs, and they didn't ask me, but they asked you, so that's good.
Yeah, check it out. It should be out in maybe 2 weeks at the most if I can get this thing finally finished.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, last problems. But
And do you have any
yeah,
advice for personal growth? Like you've been with your type for a while now. Any advice for personal growth for maybe shadow functions related or not for
um,
someone of your type?
yeah, this might be. I guess this might be FI related or just feelings related in general. But something that I've really been doing lately is this is a way of processing my feelings, which so I don't know how much time you got left, or if you're
No,
pressed.
we're good. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I had an issue at work where I was talking to my boss, and yeah, I had a meeting with him, and I was super afraid. I guess like whenever I have one of those talks at work, it always scares the crap out of me. But I had that. My boss said some stuff that needed to be improved, whatever, and he wasn't mean about it. He was chill, and he was just like, yeah, we need this to change so everything works well. It wasn't, you know. But of course, I took it super personally, and I was super kind of disappointed in myself, and I had these strong feelings about it. Anyway, usually what would happen is that TI would come in and he would say, you know what he said was logical. It was fine. He just wants to improve things. That's fine. It's okay. Like, I would try to reason my way out of feeling bad about it. Right.
Right.
But I stopped doing that. On this day, I did not reason my way out of it. I just sat there at my desk and I just felt the sort of disappointment that I had. And I just sat there and I felt it in my body, and I just focused on it, and I just kind of closed my eyes and just felt it as much as I can. And when I did this, my opinion about the feeling changed. I could feel the disappointment, but I didn't feel at odds with it. It actually started to feel almost pleasant at some point. It was fine. And then
Yeah.
after 10, 15 minutes, it was gone, and I was completely over the whole situation. If I replayed it
Right.
back in my head, there was no negative feelings that came up. I had completely processed it. And so I'm like,
Right.
oh my God, I found a cool NI
Like it's
concept.
like, yeah, but it's also like the opposite of processing. It's just you're allowing yourself to feel it without processing it, just allowing you
Yeah.
to go through the
Well,
emotions.
I'm not PI processing it, right? I'm
Exactly. Yeah.
being processed in the subconscious somehow, right? And
Right.
some sort of,
Releasing the pressure.
yeah, there's some sort of energy there, right? To
Yeah.
speak in enough terms, there's a buildup, and it has to sort of slowly dissipate out. And if you keep feeding it with reasons and thinking about it and telling yourself a story, it doesn't go away so easily. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's my takeaway. If you have feelings, please just give them their due. Don't try to reject them or reason your way out. Just feel them. That's
Awesome,
my
man.
tip. So
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
hey, no problem. Thanks you too, Ben.